Hello, artists. Today we're going to read a really awesome children's book called I Ain't Gonna Paint No More. And we're going to use this as our source of inspiration for our project. Here we go. I ain't gonna paint no more. Beautiful colors of paints in here. I love it. One day, my mama caught me painting pictures on the floor, the ceilings and the walls and the curtains and the door. I heard my mama holler like I never did before. You ain't gonna paint no more. Oh, look at that face. I ain't gonna paint no more, no more. I ain't gonna paint no more. That's what I say, but there ain't no way that I ain't gonna paint no more. So I take some red and I paint my head. No, I ain't gonna paint no more. Oh, what the heck? I'm gonna paint my neck. No, I ain't gonna paint no more. Still, I just can't rest till I paint my chest. No, I ain't gonna paint no more. Well, I guess there ain't no harm if I paint my, can you guess? Arm. No, I ain't gonna paint no more. I ain't gonna paint no more, no more, and I ain't gonna paint no more. But I just can't stand not to paint my hand. No, I ain't gonna paint no more. Then I see some black. So I paint my back. No, I ain't gonna paint no more. Like an Easter egg, gonna paint my leg. No, I ain't gonna paint no more. Still ain't complete till I paint my, got any guesses? Feet. No, I ain't gonna paint no more. Oh my goodness. I ain't gonna paint no more, no more, and I ain't gonna paint no more. But I'm such a not gonna paint my, what? No. Y'all don't faint because there ain't no paint, so I ain't gonna paint no more. You thought, I know what you thought. That's the story. I ain't gonna paint no more. All right, we just finished the story. I ain't gonna paint no more. And boy, oh boy, he just couldn't stop, could he? He kept going until the very bitter end, till he ran out of paint. Friends, today we're just gonna play around with paint, just like the little boy in the story. You see how it's crazy and splattered and lots of fun? We are just gonna enjoy paint. We aren't necessarily looking to create anything perfect today, but we're gonna play around with our watercolors. So I'm hoping that you've got a piece of white paper, some watercolors, and I also grabbed some different types of like lids or things that I can maybe paint on and stamp onto my paper. I also have a black Sharpie close by because as we know, Sharpie doesn't smear. So I'm actually gonna start out with some fun line designs in my background with my Sharpie. So if you would, start with some black lines. I don't care if you do some swirly lines. I'm not gonna really make any sense of anything. Just some fun lines in motion. Maybe just some dashed line, just so it's in the background. As you can see, we'll paint over the top of this. I don't really want it to be anything specific. Close that one off. I like circles going off the page. Maybe some more of my little dash lines, just background texture. It's nothing special at this moment. Because today is just a play day. All right, underneath I've got a messy mat. Something that, just in case I kind of go over the edge, because I'm gonna paint right up to the edge. I just have a piece of scratch paper, newspaper would work fine. Something just to protect your table. We don't want to get you in any trouble. I have my watercolors, my paintbrush, and a paper towel just to dry it off. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to add water to my colors because as we know, when they're dry, watercolors don't activate until we add some water into each and every one of them. I'm just picking up a dribble of water. We want to add a little puddle to each color that we want to use. I'm going to focus just on the rainbow, I believe, and get those colors nice and full of water. Notice I haven't stirred anything yet, so my brush is just putting clean water into each color. All right, you can see lots of water in there. I'm going to start to stir. Remember, it's like stirring Kool-Aid. We got to get that color mixed into that water, and I got to rinse in between because I don't want to have color paint all over my paintbrush. All right, once we get our colors mixed, we're going to just start to lay down color. Now, if I layer color on top of color on top of color on top of color, eventually it's just going to turn to mud. So I'm going to overlap my colors to some degree, but I'm not going to overlap so much that it turns into a puddle of mud. So I'm going to start with my red. And before I continue, friends, I have a thought. Let me go grab a crayon. I see one right over here. Because crayons and watercolors work really well because crayons are waxy. So if you want to do some texture in your background, same dash lines like before. Because crayons are so waxy that where you put some markings in crayon, the watercolor won't go. So that's kind of a fun way to play too. So if you've got your crayons, I'm going to scribble inside of that one just to show you. Hopefully it'll really show up nice. All right, I'm going to go back to my red paint. Sorry, that was just a random thought I had. Now this is not watercolor paper. See how it's pushing it away? So this paper is going to want to get kind of wobbly on me. I know you don't have watercolor paper. If you do, awesome, use it. So I'm going to overlap my my orange and my red a little bit because they are friends. If they do mix one another, we're just going to get a red-orange. Put a little down here, maybe. Remember how he was just playing? He was sort of slapping color every which way. So I don't want to overthink this process. We're just here to have some fun today. We're not necessarily creating any major piece of artwork. Now, I might overlap. Now, if I overlap green and orange, they are not neighbors on the color wheel. And if we remember back to the color wheel, the colors that are right next to each other, if they interact, if they actually crisscross into each other, they're friends. But colors that are more across from each other on the color wheel, like orange and green, if they crisscross, they're going to start to make brown. Now, there's nothing wrong with brown, but if you don't want that, you want to be careful about how much you're actually mixing your colors. So to be thoughtful with that, look at how it's pushing away. Oops, move my, you see that right there? How that yellow is really pushing away that blue. Looks pretty neat. I am just kind of blobbing down colors into my background. There isn't really a lot of thought process back behind this. Oh, pushing it away again. Really cool. Because we ain't going to paint no more. Not. Have fun today. Just play around with background colors. I'm tapping my brush a little bit to get some splatter, but if you snap your brush, you're going to get a big old mess. And boy, you don't want mom or dad hollering at you because you made a mess on the table. So be very careful with that. Whenever I do it, I just do a single tap. And see how you get a little splatter? Can be kind of fun, but if you overdo it, you'll ruin everything, including your artwork and your table around you. And we don't want anybody to get upset with us for having fun with playing with art. So please be thoughtful when you're doing that. Just kind of fill my space with beautiful color. I don't have any purple in here yet, maybe. Oh, the purple's really dark. But I like it. You can see my marker in the background still. I probably could have done even more patterns to make it even more exciting. But today is just a play day. Some light tapping. Now we've got this beautiful background. Let's say if we were to let this dry, you could come back and draw over the top of it again. You could add marker in, but I just wanted to have today be sort of a play day, just like he was doing in the book, I Ain't Gonna Paint No More. I hope you enjoyed today's project.